entrepreneurs, and professionals of Tampa Bay. Welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections for elevating your business. Welcome to Getting the Edge with Kelly Wilson. And here's your host, Kelly Wilson.
Welcome to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us today. Getting the Edge is brought to you by Edge Media Hub. You can check out more information about the hub at edgemediahub.com. Tons of information on our annual partnerships, not just for the local community, but also all beyond. So definitely check it out. So excited about our latest issue that recently launched our second annual celebration of women. If you've not yet, the digital copies are available. You can check it out online for free, or you can subscribe for a printed copy for just the one or annually. So please check it out. So many amazing stories. I'm so honored that these amazing women allowed me the opportunity to sit down and get to know them. And it was such an honor to share their story, and they are so moving. You know, I've been a firm believer forever that we can learn so much from each other. It doesn't matter at what level you're at or where you are in your life. If we stop talking long enough, and we already know what we know. So if we take the time to listen to others, you can find out great information, and gives you a perspective as well that you could utilize in your own life. I call them life nuggets that I just love pulling out of people, and I want to share them with everybody that'll listen. So again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our Platinum, our Patriarch, as we're calling them now, partners for Edge, All Trust Insurance, Pilot Bank, USF Muma College of Business, and Visit Tampa Bay. Thank you for your support over the years. We wouldn't be here without you, so I appreciate you. Thank you. Again, more information is available online. You can watch all of the previous shows that we've done over the last so many years, and I know there's over 156-minute episodes just full of great content. So we're now on all of the podcast platforms, so wherever you're watching and you love to watch your podcast, you can check us out. Look for Getting the Edge with Kelly Wilson. So again, super excited, as always, to learn and grow again today with a phenomenal woman that I have in the studio with me today that I've had the pleasure of knowing for about a decade now, and she has a phenomenal story, and I couldn't be happier to have her. So thank you. Welcome, Joanie Corneil. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here with you.
I'm so excited to have you.
Yes.
Joanie is the owner of Bella's Italian Café in the South Tampa area on South Howard, and has been a landmark for years, 35
years next Saturday, July 31st.
Congratulations.
Can't believe
I
it.
want to high five you, like,
Where did
great.
all of those years go? It's amazing.
You look amazing.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you. I feel unstoppable in that, I will be 50 next year, but it's 50's the new 30 in my mind. Plus, you have a little bit more wisdom, although the more we learn, the more we realize we don't know. But but still, if you give, I don't know, you bring light to women to know that, it's, I don't know, that we just life. There's so much life ahead, and that is a beautiful thing.
You have to keep going,
Oh, yeah.
Or you want to keep going.
Yeah.
Because your brain doesn't stop.
Absolutely not.
Well, some days it does, but
well, it's
have my moments.
I've had the pleasure of just talking with so many amazing people. Kathy Fountain being one of them. She was included in our last issue, and it was in her era, kind of being on television. She really knew her time was limited there. She had, she'd like to think that it wasn't, but at the time, women were usually cast out for someone younger at some point, and times have changed, and now beauty is not. Thankfully there are some, because I know I love my dermatologist because it makes you feel great, but thankfully there are, we're able
to keep going, to keep reinventing ourselves. And Kathy and of course her husband Frank, they're great customers of mine, and I've known them all these years, and she is a very inspiring person.
She definitely is. Yeah. And that is what I enjoy so much, is asking the questions that perhaps no one's asked before, and looking for the triggers within someone's story of what turned them in different directions, or what what moved their path. And it's fun to listen to, and sometimes identify those. And sometimes they didn't even realize that I didn't realize it's interesting. So apparently Kathy had a comic strip that she watched looked, I guess, in the paper anyway, but about a journalist or reporter. She's like, no one's asked me that question before, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
35 years.
Thank you.
How have you kept? How do you keep what's the secret sauce?
How
How do you keep it going? And
I think you have to keep your eye on the ball, and there are, competition is a healthy thing. But I do remember in the early 90s, we opened in 86, and in the early 90s, my partner, Bill Shumate, when a lot of restaurants started opening between Bayshore and Kennedy Boulevard on Howard, I think we were the fifth one to open.
Oh, really?
And by like 1992, 93, along in there were like 26, 27 restaurants that had opened up. And every time a new one would open, I was like panicked, like, oh my gosh, this is, how are we going to do this? And the more restaurants opened, the busier we got.
Really?
And I think a lot of restaurateurs, at least for me, there have been times that you look at other concepts and think, oh, maybe I should change. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. But for me, keeping my focus on what I do and what I do well, and of course, consistency is the key.
Joanie, that's great advice, no matter what business you're in. Because I think sometimes we always think the grass is greener, or you think, oh, well, maybe they know something I don't, and that's keeping it always. When a customer comes in January and they come back again the end of February and they want the same thing, right.
They want it the same thing, right. And which is really great. I would like to make more changes on my menu and have 1 to 2 throughout the years, but when I take something off, there's that group that get really upset. So I don't make a lot of menu changes for that reason.
Well, because you almost would have to take something away to add in order to keep...
Yes,
right.
Absolutely. And I do it very democratically. If I want to add, a few new things, then what sells the least I take off.
Right.
But
then you're still going
but
to
then
have
I
somewhat,
still get
right.
feedback. I get phone calls,
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. And I love that they, and I try to talk them into something else. And okay, well, but I'm putting this on, and you're going to love this just as much as you love the other. So
yeah. And then it's kind of, you give them something new maybe to enjoy versus.
Yes.
But that especially 35 years. So you probably now have, people that were kids and now coming back as adults, maybe with their children, and so that's probably too where you have some dishes, that have some emotional pull to them.
They all have history.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I've been looking for a recipe that I did probably mid-90s, and it was a smoked salmon and pasta kind of thing. And I have, files and files of recipes that I've made over the years. And boy, I cannot find that recipe. I was up like last night looking for this recipe for another couple hours, and finally I woke up in the middle of the night. That's when I do my best thinking, is when I'm asleep. And woke up in the middle of the night and remembered the recipe exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah, like 30 years later or whatever.
I love that. Well, I feel like it's all there, right?
Yeah,
we just have to get to a point where we can access it. And sometimes when our minds are the calmest is when we're able to do that. Have you always enjoyed cooking?
Always,
really?
Always. I started cooking when I was really young. The first thing I learned how to, I love to bake, was brownies. I think I was 5 or 6. So I've always...
Did you have a brownie bake oven?
No, I didn't have. I think I'm too old. I don't think that was out at the time that I was a child. But I've always cooked. Yeah. And then I had the opportunity to live in Italy for a few years, and I say, I think I was Italian in another life and lived there because it really came easy to me.
Wow.
So,
that's interesting.
And
that's a great experience as well.
Fantastic.
So what did you enjoy most about it?
about Italy, eating, drinking.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, I love pizza, and I love pasta. I mean, Italian is probably. Mexican's pretty,
Yeah, I love Mexican. Yes.
But pizza, I could live off of pizza.
Oh yes, I could too.
And your bolognese sauce, probably.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is that is a staple for sure. I'm sure.
Absolutely. Well, on my menu, I have the staples, the traditional bolognese and pesto.
You said that much nicer than I did, by the way.
What's that?
Bolognese, but you said it with
bolognese,
like
yeah.
She says
but I have the standard sauces, but then all those other things that I've created. Some of my managers, and they're all great in the kitchen. Could we try this? And so a lot of the items have come from them as well that we run as
collaborative.
Yes.
And that's the best way to do it, right?
It
They all
is.
feel a part of it.
And
that's
all
why
good.
they've been there for so long.
They have been there for a long time. I think he's about at 31 years, my GM.
Is that Eric
Potts. Eric Potts.
Wow, that's great.
And then Michelle Rice, I think she's around 23 years. And then Nate Lara, he's been there about 20 years. He started when he was 19. And he's been there a long time.
And then I'm sure seeing him grow, or even all of them in their own ways.
Yeah, because
and their family, I'm sure, after,
of course they are.
Right.
Yes,
so that's
It
amazing.
is.
Yeah.
So
and
it's
that
great.
is what I have, found too, that kind of takes a role. I think as we get older and maybe our parents aren't with us and then our kids age and have those closest to us so that we can work with do become that family.
Well,
right.
you spend as much waking hours with your work family as you do with your real family.
Right.
So yes, they're very special people, and they are the ones that make it happen every day, and I can't say enough good things about them. And valuing your employees is probably the most important thing that you can do. They are more important actually than your customers, because if you don't have great staff, great management, then it can be a problem.
Right.
So it's awesome that they're there that long. Eric, as a matter of fact, I'm from Oklahoma. Bill Shumate, who was my partner all these years, he was from Oklahoma. So we've got a lot of that kind of, I don't know, ethic, that work ethic that's a little different than most places. We understand each other very well. And of course, Larry Heisel, that was with us for 31 years.
Yeah.
So
that
he's
is
from Oklahoma.
And I think, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, wow, that is a coincidence. Or I feel like there are no coincidences, but it's just great. I feel like you you bring out the best in the others around you. They're able, because I could feel it, as well. Just I think everyone can kind of being with you. You make them feel part of at home, and
they are,
and let them shine, in their own ways.
Yes, absolutely. They're great. All of them are great people.
Yeah. Really. That's
and
great.
now my sons are both back from living in New York for many years, and they are in the business with me now, which is really interesting.
I bet.
And they
how
do
old are they?
Different things. Let's see. Jared he'll be 48 next month, and Jason's 44.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but they went to school here. They're at St. Mary's, Tampa Prep, and then went to college. And
it's great to have them.
It's awesome.
Well, I've had the pleasure when we met recently, and I may have met them in the past, just have been around the last 10 years, but it was great to meet them, and you can tell they're really passionate about. We were talking about logo or just some different marketing things that you were doing, and it's great that they can both, because they seem to both have different talents. They
do. Totally different, which is wonderful.
Shine in their own way.
Right. Yes. Well, we had to ask your advice. I can't remember. We were looking at a T-shirt logo or so. I don't remember what we were looking at.
Yeah,
but yes.
I think for your 35th anniversary
Yes.
coming up. Again,
Yeah.
it's like that is.
Yeah.
I remember sitting with Larry and talking with everyone, and Bill was there, and this was 10 years ago when I had just launched my first publication for the community, focused on history, and we were trying to figure out how to make to do a 25-year ad.
Ah, okay.
In fact, I thought
okay.
about grabbing it. I mean, but it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, and we're going to, because I was thinking about that on the way coming
Yeah.
to meet you. And I'm like, wow, and here we are 10 years later. Because
10
it was
years.
April of 2011.
2011.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Wow.
10 years later, time goes so fast. And you just look at
can't
everything
believe
that,
it.
that kind of happens within a decade. It's
Yes.
just like a lifetime.
I know.
Yeah,
and of
it's
course,
great.
the older we get, and you hear your parents talk about this, well, the older you get, time flies. And
Yeah.
they were right again.
And especially when you're happy and enjoying yourself, and,
Right.
and you have family and you have the components. It goes so fast. And then before you know it, and that's what's so important, I think, to be in the place where you are, where you're able to
Right.
kind of take it all in, and because it's all about the moments, right? I mean, the family
Yes.
and those special
Yes.
times together, and
Right.
that's what we live for every
Yeah,
day.
it is.
And
It
to
is.
touch the lives of those that come into what we, like your establishments or what
Right.
products we provide, or however we can touch them. But
I agree.
I can see happiness kind of, you
Yeah.
glow a little, and
Yeah.
it's a great look on you.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
So
Thank you very
where
much.
are you from? So Oklahoma, all right? Or where were you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm from Oklahoma and grew up on a cattle and wheat farms, and that's where
I
I
do that all the time, no
got
worries.
my experience in cooking a lot. But I come from all of my family. My mother and my grandmothers were great in the kitchen, and I just gravitated to it. I just liked
So
it.
what's the
and,
biggest memory takeaway, like that is like when you think about Oklahoma and
the biggest takeaway?
like family in the kitchen, or is it like, what
think-
memory stands out?
I think that as far as what I've taken from that in my life is the work ethic, and like my family, they came into Oklahoma in 1893 on the run into Oklahoma, in northern Oklahoma, called the Run of the Cherokee Strip, and the movie with Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman. That I can't remember the name of the movie now. Anyway,
I've heard of it just from the historic
and
point,
it's
but I
a
can't remember.
story of that,
Right,
where they
of them
line
going
up
into-
on the line between Kansas and Oklahoma, and they shoot the gun at noon, and you go and you claim your 160 acres. Well, that's where a lot,
Oh my
a
goodness!
lot of my
As
family
you talk,
came
I
from.
can see it actually
Yes,
happening in my mind, like almost. It's
and I can't
weird.
remember the name of the movie, but anyway, it's a good movie.
Nicole
So-
Kidman and Tom Hanks.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. Oh,
Yes.
okay. That
Far and Away.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Far and Away. It's a good
Far and
movie.
Away.
But that's where very interesting. And I have a lot of family, I think probably into the thousands by now. But
that's really
big
kind
families.
of cool, though,
yes,
right?
it is. Yeah.
And
So-
are they still there? Do you
Oh,
have a-
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, so
Everybody's
how
still-
often do you get there and visit?
Well, usually I go a couple times a year, the last year and a
wow.
half or so. I was there last month.
Oh,
So,
nice. Yeah, we're
So it's
beginning to
good.
have some type of
Right.
normalcy again.
Yes,
although,
I was there last month.
Yeah.
So yeah, I grew up doing that. I have 2 older sisters and a younger brother, and just a normal little
And so they're
family.
still there.
Well, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Of course,
Do you-
my parents have passed,
Yeah.
but yeah.
That's nice.
But,
You, so then what? So what did you aspire to do? What were you like, what was little Joanie like?
I wanted to be an actress. That didn't happen. And actually, went to graduate from college, but certainly not in the hospitality. I was in political science and history. But then after I went to Italy, and it all clicked.
So so what took you to Italy?
The boy's father was military, and then after I came back, I met Bill Shumate, and we got together, and he wanted to move to Florida or the islands. He wanted a bigger sailboat than he could sail on Lake Texoma. So he wanted to be he was always so cute, I want to be by big water. So he searched around. We went to the islands for a month, and I said, I'm not, that wasn't for me to have my kids down there. And so he chose Tampa, and the rest is history.
So,
and he'd been in the business basically his whole life. Mm-hmm. I think Bella's was his 14th restaurant. So
like brand or like
no, numbers.
Oh.
He had a concept called Across the Street in Oklahoma City, and he had several. Then he had a disco. That's where I met him.
Oh. Okay, so
the old disco days.
We're skipping too much of the story here, because I'm sure there's a lot in that. It was funny. I was listening to some type of disco song. It was the 70s disco.
Yeah.
It was is it Slave?
Sly and the Family Stone.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, well,
we are family.
It was one of those and a few others. I love all music. I'm just addicted. It's always on. And I've been writing. So, I mean, when I'm writing, it's blasting all, whether it's, 70s that or
right.
I like just a little bit of everything. But yeah, it was. There was a bunch of them. It was funny, and it almost takes you back to that time frame.
It does. It was fun.
It looks fun. I was young in the '70s, but that is my favorite. One of my favorite genres as far as music. It's
yes, you were young in the '70s.
I was 2 in '72, but I was born in '72.
Yeah,
I was anyway, but and I really was more in the '80s as far as but I was so influenced by music so early.
Right.
My father, he was a restaurant guy. It was a nationwide chain. It was Charlie and Barney's and Mr. Dan's, and they were all over. So this was, 80s. They were in North Carolina, Charlotte, Atlanta, Peachtree Center. I remember that.
Wow.
Denver was base, and where he ended up moving, they were all over Indianapolis and that surrounding area.
So you've been around it.
Yeah, he was the vice president of the chain, so he would travel around and open the restaurants. I actually kind of forgot about all this till we're talking. And then, yes, I had a lot of experience because unfortunately he was involved he was an alcoholic and into drugs. And there were times I would go out and visit, and he wouldn't show up at the airport. Like I was literally 8, and I would, we didn't have phones. I don't know how I was always. It's okay. I'll just call the restaurant. I'd call collect, at the restaurant, and somebody would come and get me. But the one memory I have of that crazy man is when I was very young, 4. We would sit in the basement, and he would make the music for the restaurants. And it was all the Doobie Brothers and all of this stuff. And I mean, it just gives me goosebumps thinking about it. But him and I would be in the basement, and we had double plugs. Maybe that's where my New York Kendrick thing comes from. We had double plugs, and we would literally have the headphones on. Yeah. And I'd be like, this one, this one. And then when I'd walk in those restaurants and hear my songs playing, it was just the most, I loved it. I'm like, that's my song.
That's really
cool.
That's my song.
That's cool. That's the only, that's about the only memory that I can cherish with it. But it was what a great, it was a different life. And I remember going in and seeing them, come to life because, wires being everywhere. And, I remember once they had a leak, trying to get it ready for opening. And it was just chaos. And, and then it was like, action, the thing went on and everybody's doing their part, right? And you see it all come together. And, I kind of forgotten about all of that, but it's an enjoyable experience to see. Yeah.
It's a fun business. It gets in your blood. It really does.
Yeah.
Like I keep thinking, I have this vision. There's another little concept that I want to do, and I thought I do not need to be doing this, but I can't stop thinking about it. So,
there's usually a reason if it won't go away.
How we've talked about how you reinvent yourself, and I think when you like what you've done, you've gone from step, and always thinking, always like writing a book. I mean, congratulations on that. You're always thinking of what you want to do next, and I think that's healthy.
Yeah, I do too. And I think you're always striving for more.
Right.
And you hear some say, well, the problem with most is you hit a goal, and if that is the only thing you're focused on, then what do you do next?
Right.
So you're always I'm you never know where the end game is, nor do I need to know. It's more about the journey of just getting there.
And it's a challenge. I like that, to have a challenge. It keeps you sharp.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. Well, and you want to give and kind of have, just feel like you, you gave something, you're a part of something. I think we all want that, and so I think for those of us, and I hope those that we inspire, to just do what you want to do, and that's really what it's all about. There's a ton of different platforms where you can listen to sales tactics and, and this and that and strategies. I mean, we're really more authentic and just, again, it's about the little tips that you don't even know you have.
Right, you kind of go with your gut.
I mean,
this feels right.
Right, and I think if we have ideas like the one you just told me about, if you have them, they're for a reason.
Yes.
And I think so often we have too many people around us that we want to confide in because we're excited and we want to share, and they burst bubbles very quickly.
Yes. Oh, you can't do that.
Right. And most of the time, those, it's usually based on their past experiences, not what's within that individual person. So just anyway, it's great, to talk and again, hopefully share these stories where you can do it. And I'm sure, even 30, 40 years ago, you would have never thought. We don't know where we're going or what we're doing.
Right. Right. I mean, I would never have thought that I would have when we opened Bella's, that I would be sitting here 35 years later. It just is. I'm astounded that it's been that long. Really.
Right.
It flew by. I was having fun.
That's what's, like I said, so amazing too, just because yes, life comes with tragedy. Life comes with difficulties. But life is, what do they say? It's 10%, it's 90%, 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. And it's really, it's about overcoming. And, I always say, I think it's like, they always said the real estate exam, is set up for you to fail, right? So you have to, it's really hard. They always said it. And I just think life is the same way. It's really, it is set up for us to fail. There's just so many things you can't expect not to. And, I don't think anybody's,
obstacles.
And nobody's after you, like anyone specifically.
You your way through it.
Yeah. And you just, it's interesting as you keep going and can reflect back, and now, even for yourself, looking at 35 years, and just, if you look back and with a different perspective, a different lens, so to speak, you realize why certain things may have happened and played out the way they did, because then other things fell into place and allowed you to do that. It's if you're patient and see things through, like you even mentioned about perhaps even changing something or doing something different. Just stay your course and it comes together.
Keep your focus.
So let's talk about disco days. Okay, so how did you meet Bill, and what was that? How old were you then?
I was 30.
Okay.
I was 30, and I had moved back to Oklahoma City, and gotten a divorce, and I went back to school, and I needed to get a job.
Well, you had
part-time
two sons.
job. I had two little ones. So I got a job at this disco called Clementine's. And this disco, I'll never forget when I walked in, the sign that you see, this establishment seats so many people. It was 891. That's how big it was.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyway, I thought, but I was a good cocktail waitress. So I thought, I can, work 3-4 hours a night and a couple nights a week.
That's the best way to make money too, especially when you have little ones, and you can go to school and do what you need to do. Absolutely.
So I went to work there, and I met Bill Shumate, and because he was there were two owners. He had a partner. They did several different ventures together, but that's where I met him, and he was a character. He was a character, and as you know, he passed away last July, and we were very sad, but, he had a great life. He did it his way.
Like Frank Sinatra.
Like Frank. Yeah, he did it his way, and he was a character, and loved by many.
Yes, yeah. He just had, again, that he made everyone feel special.
Yes,
he just had a way with people that just, he did great energy, and just a good guy. Yeah.
Yes.
I can imagine that was really, that's what I said, we go through.
Everybody misses him. Yes, everybody misses him. So, so actually we're doing we're doing his celebration of life on the 31st of July, and Bella's anniversary. And quirky story, but I met him on July 31st.
I love that.
And we got married the following July 31st. And then 5 years later, we opened Bella's by chance on July 31st. So anyway, kind of crazy. That was not planned at all, opening.
Really?
But no.
You just reflected back and you realized,
we just
oh my goodness.
we're opening on whatever day we finally get ready.
Right.
And
that's
what we did. And it was July 31st.
That's
it was pretty funny. Pretty funny, yeah.
Yeah. And 35 years later.
Yeah, so we're doing that next Saturday, having a little celebration of life for him.
So what is that going to be like? Are you going to do it during a certain time?
Yeah, it's by invitation.
And has a
yeah, it's just by invitation, but I think that there'll be quite a few people there. He's a pretty popular guy, and he used to sail a lot. He's got all his sailing buddies and restaurant people and family, and so yeah.
Yeah, well, it'd be. I would love to stop by, perhaps,
Please.
And have one.
Yes,
as I sat with Joanie, you have a drink, a new one, and I'm strictly vodka martinis, pretty much. My white cream de cocoa and vanilla vodka, but you had a drink that
you had the Passione.
Okay,
no, was that it?
I don't know.
Did you have the purple one?
I don't know, but I could use one right now.
Yeah.
It was.
That thing is,
had,
people love it.
Like a banana taste to it.
Oh, the roasted banana.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. It's rum. It was rum, which I'm not typically rum, but it was
really good. That's another one that is really, really popular.
I think I may not be able to wait till the 31st actually to stop, but I'll do that then. Though. It'd be great to kind of pay respects in a sense.
Yeah,
and,
that'd be great.
Feel like I did.
Sure.
Have a toast or something. Too. There's so many great people that touch our lives, and it's. Reasons, seasons, lifetimes.
Right.
Time too. I think people come into our lives, and sometimes or season, or ultimately lifetimes. And I think sometimes it allows us opportunity, just mindset wise to be able to evaluate that. That I think sometimes we want to hold on forever to things. And in a sense, somebody could potentially be with you a lifetime, but it not necessarily physically. But it's. Life is tough.
Yeah,
and loss is tough. I think as we start getting older, it gets tougher because you start maybe losing some people around you, and unfortunately, cancer and none of these things, they don't discriminate in any way. So
they don't.
We just appreciate. That's why every single day is so important, to do.
And with Bill, he had like you said, such an influence on so many people, and decisions that I've been making the last few years, because he had Lewy bodies dementia, which is a horrible thing, and I know so many people are dealing with forms of dementia and Alzheimer's, and it's a horrible thing to watch. But for me, I question myself. Okay, and I always think, what would Bill do? What would he be doing in this situation? But because I learned so much from him.
He may have done it his way, but it worked.
Yes,
I guess.
And so, and of course we're doing just fine. He was a good sounding board for me. And interestingly enough, and I'm sure that people that are dealing with family members that have this, if you talk to them about the old days, or something they were very familiar with, like I would show him the financial statement even 2 years ago, like a year before he passed away. Most days he could look at that financial statement and have comments about it, because he'd been doing it his whole life, and he'd say, well, what about this? If this is this, then what's that? And I loved doing that with him, because
he had a different mindset that he could catch things or see things that maybe not the ordinary person saw.
And it was great that even in his state of mind at that time, that he was still able to pull some of that out.
Well, you gave him those opportunities.
Yeah.
Instead of dismissing that he might not still have something to give. I think he loved that. It's...
Well, and Bill's favorite thing was to go sit at the bar during happy hour. And I was not a person that went to the bar and sat during happy hour at Bella's. I just didn't. I go there and I have drinks, but I usually not there for happy hour. Anyway, but he'd meet his buddies. So during this time when he was still able to make phone calls, it'd be about 4:30 or so, and he'd call me and he goes, "Okay, I'm ready. Let's go have a drink." I'm ready to go. And most times I could manage going and picking him up and taking him over there so he could have a cocktail. When I couldn't, he was very unhappy with me, and he let me know it. Well, I'm ready. I'm going to have a vodka tonight, or I'm going to have a Crown tonight, but it's the repetition and things he'd done forever, and it's a very sad thing to watch your loved ones that demise. So, anyway.
And that's kind of why I was pulling back to as we get older, and we yes, I mean, we have maybe success or wisdom maybe we didn't have before, but we also have other,
Sure.
There's always, you have other, it's always give and take, really it is, because then you always, it's always, it's hard.
Yeah.
And, trying to stay as centered as possible has kind of been my focus, where things can happen, but you don't like it, was it upheaval? Like, what's that word? But you can say,
upheaval.
Yeah, I mean, how would you say it?
Upheaval.
Upheaval. Okay. Yeah. Like, I'm always messing words up. But I know now. Upheaval. Okay. But it's great to stay centered as much as we can, and because life, I mean, so many things happen, and I can even feel sometimes where the phone might ring, right, or we see somebody's message, or you remember something, or anything, and all of a sudden you're going, oh my God, what did I do, or what didn't I do, and you're almost into a panic, right? And because I've become so kind of centered, I can feel as soon as things happen, and I'm not, and I'm just like, whoa, what happened? And I try to get control, but I don't think the normal person, by just going every day, even realizes that happens, because we're not thinking about it. Right. Our minds are going everywhere else, and we think it's normal. It's not normal anyway. But I don't know. So if we can try to, I always say, just try to think about that and be conscious, because it makes us stronger beings.
Yes.
If you could go back and give younger Joanie advice, knowing what you know now, maybe like at the disco when you first started, or like what would...
I think it took me, and my father said this about me, that he would say, it takes some people longer to grow up than others. And I think I was one of the slower ones. I was pretty unfocused when I was younger.
But you were searching for...
And I was searching for the niche, and I guess I found it in the restaurant business. Yeah, I think
Bill too, shined a light on and showed. I mean, because that connection led, to you blossoming.
Things.
Yes, and that partnership. You being able to do what you do, and him being numbers, and it just worked. He needed you as much as you needed him.
Bill was not a chef at all. But you've heard so many times, do what you love, and you don't work a day in your life, or whatever that little saying is. I think that was me, absolutely, because I planned on going into a field that I would have lost my mind, sitting at a desk, or that's just not me.
Right.
So
I understand that feeling. Right. Yeah. Political science was my path. Initially, I thought I'd be an attorney and argue my points and try to help people that way. But we all have a gift to give.
Yes.
It's just a matter of finding out where and how we best use that. And I think it's constantly changing. And that's why we talk about life chapters. Every time one door closes, another one opens. And I think really, as long as our brains are working, ultimately it doesn't stop at 20 or 30 or 40. No. I mean, it can constantly go. And I think that's what is exhilarating as well. Just that, we can have multiple successes or chapters in our life.
I think so too. And I'm excited for your book to come out.
I know. Thank you. It's I never thought I'd be so honest about things. So this is kind of, and I'm taking, putting a show, writing magazines, even having a restaurant. Anytime we do anything, we put ourselves out there. For criticism, for people to say, you have to be and especially something as this, that I'm going to share, but you have to be at a point where the centered piece, which is what I just mentioned, which is why it's so important.
Yes.
Other people's opinions don't matter, and you should not ever take things personally.
Right.
I talk about that on the show all the time.
Well, I had wanted to write a cookbook for a number of years. And my Jared, my oldest son, was in publishing in New York for his whole tenure up there, and had worked on lots of cookbooks. He was at Wortman Publishing. Anyway, he said, "You don't want to do it. You know." Keeping me focused. Anyway, but I finally said, okay, I really want to do this. And he really is the one that drove my book. And I have to say that once your book is in somebody's hands, it's really exhilarating. So that's something for you to look forward to.
I mean, I'm excited to see people reading my magazines, which is are other people's stories, but still they're heartfelt because I wrote. Well, I don't write all of them. I write the features, but yes, I can only imagine. I think what will be nice is I feel like I won't have to explain myself because if you've read the book, you understand what I've experienced or what I've gone through or why I think the way that I do. So I just feel like for once, maybe I won't have to not defend because I don't. I don't. It's I don't have to explain anything to anybody. It's not we're all on different paths. It's but just thinking somebody might actually instead of me having it takes because I get caught up in words. I can't get them out, especially trying to talk about something that's personal to you. So I think would be pretty cool to somebody come up and say, I get you and this connected and me not having to say anything.
It's and really fun.
Because
it's really fun.
Honestly, when I try to get things out sometimes on that level, poor Kendra that works with me, she hears me and it's amazing because
she fills in the blanks.
Yes, and that's crucial, especially as you take on. It's all about the team. It's kind of like you said, and it's taken me a long time. Not that I didn't always want that, but I think so often as we have businesses, you wear all the hats. You do whatever you have to, to keep things going. And especially as a single mother with limited to no resources and not really ever having investment or, it was just me. So I kind of bootstrapped it, I think is how they say it. And, you just improvise and you build and go. I tell you though, after 10 years and I'm tired, but still extremely exhilarated. But you just know
how much more you know now than 10 years ago.
But it's nice that I look back on even like there was 3 or 4 years from when we first launched where we were doing 24 events a year. Every month we had a social like with 50, 60 people in the community that would just come and network, but it was in a different member's business each month. And then we would have luncheons and then the magazines and then the shows and I don't know how I did it looking back.
I was going to say, I don't know how you did it.
And back then my daughter was 11, 12, 13 and yes, with her dad some of the time, but still,
it's hard.
I don't want to do that anymore. But it's nice to know that too, right? To get to a point where you're like, I don't want to do that. No, I know what I want to do, and I know what I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And I think the excitement is for me maybe getting to a point where it's totally all about what I want to do.
Sure.
And so many other people are able to fill in the other spots, and they're better at it, obviously, than I would have ever been.
Yeah.
So it's like almost magic at that point because all those pieces that have those, components, the lights, actually,
Well, I think it's women and having a career, the guilt that we feel when we leave our kids. And I mean, certainly, I still, there are moments where I think, oh my gosh, I spent too much time in that restaurant when my boys were little.
Right.
And I've asked them about it, and they're like,
Right.
We didn't even notice. It was their norm. It was their norm, that I was not always available. But I miss that. And I think every woman that you can't get it back.
And so you have to be comfortable and have some peace with that in your mind, right?
Right.
And that kind of goes back to the mindset piece of it all. We can have all these years of success, and it's sometimes I feel like we think different. I mean, we make assumptions, right? That somebody might feel a certain way, and I feel like it puts our soul off. Like it just because we're so concerned, and I think the best thing you can do is ask.
Yes.
Because ultimately, I think they would say something and tell you, but then you probably still don't want to believe what they're saying. No. but you have to. You just check mark. You could let that. You can let that regret go. You did fine. But I think I listen to a lot of people. I read books when people are close. They reflect
Yeah.
And that is, that is a number one time. You don't get it back, and all the and, a lot from CEOs, men, so,
Yes.
even more so, with, and I mean, these people have knowledge for a reason. I mean, how can I assume that I won't feel that way like they do all these years?
Right.
I mean, I can assume I probably will. And I think when you have that perspective too, that, again, trying to look at their perspective and, if I can help me later, and have some peace.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I think they're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
So what is your definition of success today?
I think just a job well done and peace of mind, that you have a peace of mind that you have done your best and that you have contributed, and that you raise great children. That's really, I don't think you can ask for
Do you
a
have
whole lot more than
grandchildren
that.
yet?
No, neither one of my boys want children. I don't know about their significant others, but they don't, which is very disappointing to me. Yes.
Well, they're younger right now. I mean, well,
they're not.
Well,
no.
for men, you can. I mean, they could.
Yeah.
You never know.
For men,
right.
yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, they better hurry up. The time is now.
Yeah, and I am.
Yeah.
It is an amazing thing. But I had, having my son at 18, you risk the chance of becoming a grandmother very young, and I had to become 40 and I become a grandmother. But it is amazing,
Yes.
and it was really hard initially because I just said how much I was working. It's like the last thing I wanted to think about was 2 grandchildren. And I still had a 12-year-old at home, and it's like so. And I was so young, but. I think as I've been able to grow a little more, and they're 8 and 4 now, and it's
what fun!
Yes, and I'm Grams. I love being Grams, but we have like an Orlando trip planned with them, and really it's the first time that I've taken the time
to do something
go
like that
with all of with his wife and him and my daughter, and it's been a long time. Well, of course, pandemic too, but even that I would let myself spend money and go because I was being solo, and really it was important for me to know that I could do this on my own for some reason, and so. This 10 years was needed for me.
Yeah.
So now I feel like I have the next, when one door closes, another opens. So I'm just at that open door space where, I'm about ready to jump, and I don't care if a parachute is hooked on or not. It's amazing, but I'm excited.
Yeah.
And family's everything. I think we, like I said, sometimes
it is.
We don't realize that maybe.
It is. Yeah. I love having my guys back. It's great.
Well, and I think too with Bill gone. I mean, they're not. They'll never. They'll never fill each other's voids. I mean, and I'm sure they have one as well with him gone. I mean,
absolutely.
But you're together, and that's what matters.
Yeah,
it's really exciting.
It's all good. It is.
Yeah, it's time goes so fast, like we just said. So it's just it'll be nice to.
Yes.
What do you enjoy reading? What
I read a lot, but I read a lot of fiction.
Do you?
Yeah. Crime and all of that.
That's good too.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think it gets our mind off of things.
Yeah.
And
you know
it
what
takes
I
us
do that
somewhere
I
else.
love is,
Yes.
believe it or not, I'm not very graceful, but I love ballroom dancing. I take lessons at least twice a week, and it's a riot. It's really just fun, and I just love it.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I would love to someday maybe do that more, but I did a story on Emilio and Blanche Librero.
Aren't they great?
They are. That was probably 10 years ago. That was with the other publication. And they are. What a wonderful story.
Yeah.
And they have been inspiring magic forever.
They have been there over 40 years. Yeah. I mean, and they're great.
Yeah. So
they can really kick up their heels.
And so that is Libreros on Davis Islands Boulevard. So doing the story on them, I went in and took a couple lessons just to be able to, again, to tell to really understand what they did. And that was a very stressful time because, again, I'm a single person and just... I was so naive, but that's But it didn't matter. I think sometimes naive is good. It's good to be naive, but we don't need to know what is all ahead. But it was for that moment when you walk in, it's like you open the doors and go in and you're laughing and you're messing up and you feel like you look crazy and all you're thinking about at that moment are getting the steps right and enjoying yourself.
Yeah, it's fun.
I laughed and I hadn't laughed like that. And I mean, laughter is fun. I mean, it makes you happy. You can't help but to be happy when you're laughing, right? So it does something to you personally. It's like, what do they say? Like when you work out, endorphins, right? Endorphins release to make you happy anyway. But who wouldn't want more of that, right?
Right. Oh,
yeah,
it's
and you
fun.
get to probably engage and meet people and
I love it. I love it. It's a great time.
2 days a week. See, that's a commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they always have little parties on Friday night. I don't always make those, but I love my lessons. So,
that's
it's fun.
And I don't think it's everything you ever stop doing, right? If you're taking lessons, and I mean, it's something you can just do forever.
Just do forever.
Enjoy it.
Yeah. Most people that go there are like my age, I have to admit. I think it's something, because it's a commitment. And, when you're working all the time, I mean, you don't have the time to do that.
Right. Well, and would you want to go somewhere where you didn't feel comfortable, right, at home?
Right.
It is. I think it's a good. I like them as well. It's and everybody. It's just it's a good place. A good vibe. Davis Islands is a great vibe overall. Anyway.
Oh my gosh, it is.
Well, and that's what we were just talking about, DI, and it's with the first publication. Again, time just goes so fast. Let's talk about the cookbook before time runs out and I don't have time. So, what was that experience like? Just putting the book together.
Well, it was. Jared had me look at stacks and stacks of cookbooks, which I'm a cookbook collector anyway, but the paper, the fonts, the style, the overall style, and I'm really happy with it. We've done
beautiful.
We've done really well with it, and I think we have like 120 recipes, and they're the standard, like bolognese, pesto, all those things that you like.
I'm not even going to say it because after you say it, it doesn't come out of my mouth.
So yeah, it's great. I published it 5 years ago on our 30th. That is when it came out. So, and we've done really well with it. And it's really great when I get on Facebook or any of the social media, or someone will actually call me and say, I can't tell you how much I love your cookbook. And it's so well written, because I had to back up, and you cook for hundreds of people, but backing it up down to 4 people or 6, or there are different numbers here in the book, depending on the recipe.
Right. That would be difficult, I would think.
And then matching the flavor profiles for what it tastes like at Bella's, because like some of the products that we buy wholesale, you can't buy at in a Publix or a grocery store. So the testing went on for months to match up these flavors. So I'm really happy with it, and I love getting those compliments, and I'm surprised at how many men compliment the recipes, and because I haven't been married to a guy that cooks, besides putting a burger on the grill, something like that. So when I get a compliment from a guy, that's really cool, Oh, I make your chicken piccata all the time, and
to think you're
like
reaching someone that wasn't even necessarily your demographic, right?
Yeah.
That's
so
very cool.
So we're really happy with it.
Yeah. It is beautiful the way it came out and is designed, and there's great pictures even throughout, and it gives you like a little insight and piece of the family, I feel.
Right. I've told some stories in there. Yeah.
And I think that's what kind of also makes it a little different than just a normal cookbook. And I think even whether you're local to Tampa or not, I think there's
we had the furthest. I think the furthest it's gone is Australia. I know there was a family there. I don't know if they'd been to Bella's or what, but anyway, a period of time, it seemed like frequently Jared was sending books off to Australia. So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So they like Italian over there. I like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well, I would say if you have an idea in your mind, it's there for a reason. So I would think, I would encourage you to just, think on it a little more and let it sizzle. But if it's still in there, then there's probably a reason, and you probably still have another
challenge out there,
another challenge ahead of you. So. Yeah. It's hope and possibilities. I think no matter at what point in life that we are, it's exhilarating.
Yeah, it is. Well, and look at you.
Well,
10 years later, in a book in the making.
Thank you. I am probably the happiest and the best place I've been in,
awesome.
Ever probably.
Well, of course, when I see you, always look great.
Thank
and,
you.
Always have a good time, and so
Thank you. I am very inspired and I am driven, but when it is all the other people around me, like yourself sitting here now, that fuel me even more. I don't think, and even all of the women, and I don't think you guys realize that. And as even when talking to Kathy, I'd reached out to Kathy because I think I told you the story about seeing her so long ago and being touched by her, at 18, and I didn't realize at the time. I was reaching out for me, in a sense, to say this, but I didn't realize how significant it was for her. Because she was at a time where, I think we all are reflecting. Have we served our purpose? Have we touched others?
Right.
And not everyone's going to reach out and say, "Wow, you did, this. I had this experience." And so that's why I hope verbally I'm able, and I guess through my word or emotions, just tell you guys that you all continue to inspire me and everyone else that comes around. So your significance is huge.
Well, what you do for all the people, like for me and all those ladies and everyone that comes on, and you inspire people. So you need to know that as well.
Thank you.
You do.
Thank you.
You bring people up. That's a talent.
Thank you. I thank you.
You're welcome.
I committed my life to doing that because I believe that there's so much more than. I feel like we get caught in our own minds, and I'm like that web. I want to clear the web and allow you to see what is really there instead of being blurred by what you created on your own.
Well, I think sometimes we put limitations
We do.
on ourselves.
We're just about see, I told you it goes so fast.
It does.
Have 30
and we
seconds.
did. We talked
So definitely, you could. Where is the book available?
At Bella's. It's on. You can order it through the website as well.
Okay. Definitely. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it very much.
Great.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Definitely. If you've not been to Bella's, it's awesome. Definitely check it out. Thank you so much for being with us today. Go to the website. Please subscribe to our newsletters, and you can event September 29th. Please save the date if you're local to the Tampa Bay community. Edge is launching another magical event. So we hope to see everyone there and can't wait until then. So until then, never stop dreaming. Thank you.